Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today we have a very special guest in the house, Hafizul Ahmad from WPF. He is the chairman.
Chairman.
So we are very lucky to have this guest, and Al-Attas University of Life will start implementing podcasts on a monthly basis, and we will invite extraordinary souls as our branding, a league of extraordinary souls. Now, without wasting any more time, I'd like to get into the questions that we normally have for our guests. Maybe Hafizul Ahmad, you want to say a few words, who you are and what you do?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. To all audience, I'm Hafizul Ahmad from World Political Forum Malaysia Nation Branch. So I am grateful to be part of the nationwide and perhaps worldwide podcast project by Al-Attas University of Life today. So I'm grateful that this podcast will be able to assess and touch the soul and thought of many people.
That's a great remark. So,
and greetings also. It's an honor to be with Omar Al-Attas today. Lots of discussion and also movement towards completing this podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's very kind. Now, the first question, which we always start with. A lot of people go through struggles in their life where it's not always up high, but sometimes they go through the low. And whenever they go through that phase, maybe you can shed some clarification perhaps from your own personal experience. Why is it that when people fall down and fail, they give up? And why is it that it's hard for them to actually want to get back up and continue moving forward? Can you give us some insightful, some philosophy?
Yes, this what everybody can relate. Falling down, working up back, raising back, striving back from success and failure is the ingredients of life. So the reason why some people falling or giving up, because there is a lack of understanding that life is difficult. There is certain ideology or thinking that mention that there is important needs that we need to understand that life is difficult. Firstly, life is challenging, life is demanding. When we have the understanding of life is difficult and life is demanding, so there is an impact of action, there is an impact of expected result, expected implication, maybe expected failure from one task. So when we understand that life is difficult, so there will be a preparations of failure. There is no doubt everybody face failure in certain project, because in terms of developing the life project as a long-term project, as a living in this earth, living our life is a long-term project. So we know that there is certain aspect and criteria that play the main factor in terms of completing the task towards success. For example, the learning curve, the time limit, the deadline, for example. And also, if you're talking about certain project involve monetary, there is a budget target, budget requirement, minimum budget target, how to make it break even profitable. So when there is a limitation or the target is not achieved, so that is where failure occurred.
I see. So when you talk about failure, right, there must be a word that you use that helps you move forward. Something that, a word that you normally, you actually associate with your life. So what's your favorite word and something that you ponder on or you always think on? Is there?
Yes, there is one word that the world required more, patient.
That's a good word.
So which means that when you do things, you give your 100% commitment, and you need to love what you do. You need to be passionate of what you do. So when anything is done by love, by passion, by concentration, focus, which means the work of love. So that thing become beautiful. You can see in any industrial item, for example, in the shape of vehicle, car design, when it was done with love and full with passion, so the design will be in the constructive artwork. Similar to any project or ideas, even writings, for example, we can see certain gurus or even writers, they write the book beautifully. To name certain book, for example, An Acres of Diamond, Servant Leadership, some of the books, it's been written with love, with the passion to make the people understand. It's not easy to make people understand. So when we do things, we need to put passion as an ingredient. You need to be passionate to become the movers, to change people, to add value to people. So the world, beside need more doers, doers, people that they do walk the talk. We also need people that do the work with passion, with love.
Interesting. That's a great insight from you, Mark. So if you can share with me, we see in Hollywood movies a lot of Marvel heroes like Iron Man, Superman, Spider-Man. Everyone wants to do something that is great. They want to fly, they want to do something like Superman. So what is a superpower that if you could actually have one superpower, what would it be?
The one superpower that I think the most important in our current world is the ability to convince and to gather people. So if I have the superpower, I want to have a superpower to be able to convince and have a lot of friends. For example, if you have 1,000 of friends to do an occasion, for example, what happened to the occasion? And all your friends contributed to the certain area. Either it's in terms of idea, in terms of contribution financially, energy. So what happened to the event? If, for example, you want to do only one day event with a contribution of 1,000 people, so you can do a lot with support and belief from all friends that you have. So if I want to have a superpower, for example, if Omar, I will be able to convince Omar to support me. And I can convince. You already convinced. Thank you very much.
That's the real superpower.
That's right. I also support Omar, for example.
Thank you.
But if you have the ability, the superpower to convince another 1,000 and 1,000 of people to make the world better, for example. So what happened to the world? It will be impactful and the world will change to the better. So that's for me the superpower that is not highlighted by any comic books.
Wow. And that's a realistic superpower. It's not something that it's way above something that we can do as a normal human being. It's a bit hard for you to punch through building or fly to outer space. But convincing someone, you can probably pick up a book like How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Exactly.
That's one way you can actually have that superpower. So that's definitely a great superpower to have. Now, there's this one question I always like to ask. If you can write anything on a billboard, something that you see when you drive across the road, something huge. We see a lot of people selling like beauty products, people selling things on the highway. So if you could actually have one message on the billboard, what would it be?
On the billboard, you can imagine, big billboard, it's written there, walk the talk.
Why?
So because the world now, there is a lot of information, a lot of knowledge, a lot of new development in terms of literature, books, for example. But there is a lacking of doers. And we need doers that do whatever that they talk about, what they praise about. It's not just limited to politicians, for example, but it's also limited to all the public role, you know what I mean? And to ourselves, for example. It's also a self-advice where whatever that we write on our to-do list, whatever the task that we promise to our organization, so we need to be a doer, walk the talk. When the world is full of people that walk the talk, where they do more than they talk, So I mean, the world will become a better place. There is a lot of issues in this world regarding peace, unity, in terms of poverty. You know, the
Yes.
economic imbalance between the the structure and also some other area. So if we have a lots of doers and higher levels of doers is activists. What do you mean by activist? Activist is the person that are able to forgo and sacrifice first.
Okay.
We need people that willing to sacrifice first. In this modern world, there is a lacking of people that will be able to lose first and win later. There is a lot of people that do not want to take risks in terms of profitability.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but the true sense of conceptual of humanity itself is about sacrificing. A mother sacrifice for the baby and for the children first.
Yeah.
Then later the baby and the children grow and will be able to contribute to the family later on. It's about the nature. The nature is about all sacrifice first. Then later you will gain automatically. But there is no certain good understanding in this modern world that there is a durations of recovery towards profit.
Okay.
Profiting from whatever that you do. That's why I urge everybody, you know, to the world to be able to become an activist. You act, you sacrifice first, you contribute first to your organization, your family, your friends, yourself. Then after on, you can actually count your profit automatically.
Wow.
So that is the one that in the billboard. The movement that we need to do is doers, and higher level is activists.
I see. So
Activism.
that is a great message by Hafizul, and I think we should all pick up something valuable from what he just said on that aspect of doing more instead of just thinking about it, or instead of just having it at a conceptual level. We need to learn how to become an activist in whatever organization, in whatever movement that we find to be beneficial, or whatever organization that we are with. Now that actually ties in very well with the next question. What's your best tip for making the world a better place?
Okay, there is a lot of love needed in this world. There is a lot of action and do need to be happening around the world. And the third thing is there is a concept of big heart need to be happen to the world. That's among one of the few values that needed by the world nowadays. For example, as I mentioned, you need to do things with love.
Yeah.
There is doing. Another thing, you also need to show love. There is a lot of issues you faced by the people of the world, and also, for example, by youth. You know, talking about the depression, suicide rate, and some other health problem that occurred because there is lacking of love.
Okay.
So, either in Malaysia or in any other part of the country, there is a movement of people to understand the importance of showing love. You need to tell your mother or your father that you love them.
Okay.
Not just by visiting them. Sometimes it's not just sufficient, but you need to tell them, I love you.
Okay, I have a question. You know, you drive at the traffic in KL, in Kuala Lumpur.
Yes.
And trying to show love after someone just cut you inside, and you know, without giving a signal. It must be quite tough to actually show love.
There is a, you may say, high level of love in terms of blessing a person that do something which is quite rude. You may say that is rude in terms of road driving ethics.
Okay.
Or antiquity. All those method. But there is a needs of for people to have a big heart.
Okay.
It's also a challenge for me to not think negatively towards or say negatively towards the people that do something which is rude or wrongdoing.
Okay.
For example, like cutting without signal, sudden cutting, sudden honking, and all. But nowadays, since we living in a modern world, there is a need of bravery towards politeness.
Wow.
Bravery towards becoming a good person. Bravery, because there is no explanation in this mainstream ideology to mention that one thing that most important in our era now, in either facing the problem or facing challenges, is bravery. So some people say, some of the philosopher or people say, what the things that they don't teach you in school. The things that you don't teach you in school is bravery. You cannot buy bravery, but you need to develop bravery. And bravery, there is two way of bravery. One is what I call towards the negative effect. Bad things. Brave. You become a gangster. You are brave. You know, abang kawasan. You know, say you are the leading gangster in the area. But there is another way of becoming brave in the sense of promoting prosperity, standing what is true.
So you said
still stopping on the red light, even though it's actually midnight and no cars in front.
That's a good point. There was one word I really like when you mentioned bravery in politeness.
Yes.
A lot of people view politeness as soft. A lot of people view politeness as something weak. And when you actually rephrase it as bravery, can actually make someone who's polite be perceived in a higher light. I think that is a very interesting observation.
Correct, because as we mentioned on our first question just now, life is a long-term project. Persistency, resiliency. How resilient are you? You know, bouncing back is really important in doing or becoming successful. It's the determination, either you are successful or not successful in life. For example, in doing good things, in promoting certain good values, you need to be persistent. Like our Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he is persistent. Persistent. So in our modern life, we also need to show persistent. What required to become a persistent person, confident with our own skin and idea, is you need to have the bravery to comfortable with your own agenda and also stand. You need to have a deep understanding that you are on the true side, on the real side. So this is the things that need to be promoted: the bravery, the activism of the willingness to act. Not just when people need your help, but when you can add value to people.
I think what Hafizul said resonated very well with Al-Attas University of Life. Reason being is that our founder, Professor Al-Attas, espoused these values: loving, giving, sharing, caring, and giving. So a lot of those values can be seen at face value as being weak and soft. You know, people don't want to be perceived. Everyone wants to be great. Ego drives them forward. A lot of people want to not be seen as saying thank you, please. Whereas these things are very basic and common sense, but it's not being applied.
Correct.
And the other concept where you talk about bravery or courage, that is another key aspect of University of Life. Our logo, the phoenix, the flaming phoenix, is the embodiment of courage.
Yes.
Once you know the truth, you can actually be courageous.
And even though you become ashes, you grow from ashes.
Exactly.
That's phoenix, the character. Because in our generation nowadays, there is lots of requirement for brave leaders. Leaders, as mentioned, if we go for certain gurus, they mention it's not about your position, it's about what do you believe in.
Right.
Then you need to fight for what you believe in. In order for you to fight for what you believe in, you need to have bravery. Bravery cannot be trained. Bravery comes from your niyat. It will come from your determination. How willing are you to help the other people, for example, or how willing are you to add value to other people?
Maybe if one of you listeners wants to learn how to be brave, you can come to one of our classes that we do at Al-Attas University of Life, and we'd like to have Hafizul come not just for the upcoming event in March, but you can partner with him more, because he definitely we resonate and we are aligned in terms of values.
Exactly. Because if you mention loving, caring, and all the values that mentioned in Al-Attas, University of Life, is the ingredients that to fulfill the inner needs. There is the inner food. Because if you mention, research shows that our longevity of life is already prolonged for ladies up to 75. Why? Within this actually few maybe 20 years ago. Why? Because the consumptions of product, cosmetic product, or the product to take care of the body, the physical body, is already improved. The consumption is already improved. But the next level of improving the human longevity, for example, possibly comes to the mind. Like example, we see our Tung Mahathir himself. Lots of things that he do, he practice using his mind. So there is a development of mind. But I love actually the concept of what our professor Syed Hussein Al-Attas mentioned. There is 3 elements of a person. One is body, and mind, and another thing is soul. So mind and soul is correlated. Maybe mind is in terms of intellectuality, analysis. Soul is about what you're feeling, what do you feel. Some people of course believe there is the roh. You see, but in terms of fulfilling this mind and soul, what that we need to do. So that is the next stage of discovery, voyage. The adventure. That what is the Westerners is doing. Explorations of the mind. That actually we need to also like choose our choices of thought. Similar like we choose our choices of food daily. You cannot eat like rotten food because it will bad for your body. Similar to negative thought. If you eat negative thought, it will bad for your mind. So this kind of thing is need to be developed, and is developing in the whole world, even in World Physical Forum, in terms of understanding level, and also the technology or the method of improving our mind. And in Islam is our soul.
So I think before we wrap this up, probably one question that gets to the meat of the state. What is one important lesson or concept that you'd like to impart to our listeners or audience that you feel is the most important concept in your life? And what was it life before learning that, and what is life after learning that?
Okay, as I mentioned, number 1, life essential attitude is bravery. I already elaborate further. Why? Survivability nowadays is depend on your bravery. In order for you survive in the urban lifestyle nowadays, you need have the courage to work. You need to courage to sell your idea. You need to courage to do the idea, the work that you need to do. So bravery is required. And in order for you to achieve further, you need to go to meet people. Who is who in this country or this actually worldwide. For example, how can you meet actually big corporate person? For example, you need to have certain level of bravery. So bravery is required in terms of in our life, essential. It's not an optional, like accessory. It's not more it's not accessory anymore. Another thing is love. The importance of getting love and showing love. Because within these few years, I think I do appreciate people around me even better. Because relate to the book, the ALXS of Diamond. ALXS of Diamonds, for example, it's mentioned that actually the diamonds that you are searching for is all over you, all around you. Like in the book, it's mentioned it's at the back of the farm, at the river, in the shape of odd stone, odd shaped stone. So you may refer the book on that matter. So love is required. Then it's just that the next stage that we require, either in Malaysia or as a Malay, sometimes we do not have the practice of showing love You
Yeah.
know, even say, as you mentioned, saying thank you. Thank you is love.
Yeah.
People actually deliver you something, give you something in the shape of whatever value, you know,
Yeah.
like biscuits or whatever value. You need to say thank you. Thank you means that you appreciate. I appreciate and I
Yeah.
love you.
Even when you go to mama shop, you don't see a lot of people saying thank you to the mama. Like
Yes.
after the ane give roti canai, they didn't say thank you. They
Yes.
just expect that roti canai to come. Whereas
Exactly.
we need to start saying thank you.
Thank you. That is actually towards actually our external,
Yeah.
to stranger.
Correct.
You know, giving up, kindness. Kindness you need to give up, giving up the kindness. You know, which means that you never know what is the people or the person go through that whole day. Like the mama, you
Yeah.
know, you just mentioned the ane.
The ane.
Maybe the ane have a rough day, but normally if you observe them, they work long hours.
They do.
They do.
Yeah.
Before subuh and after isyak.
Correct.
After isyak.
They
That's the
only
time
have
they
3
go.
or 4 hours to clean up. Something.
Sometimes we also need to be ashamed that
Yeah.
you know they work harder,
It works
long
super.
hours compared to us. For
Correct.
example,
Yeah.
but when you say thank you or you express your emotion of love to that person, maybe the person will actually become happier. That make them their day. Maybe their blood pressure go down. Their health is becoming better. They glow. You know. So that is the impact of biology of that person. For example. So the next one, I think the value in life is giving and sacrifice. Giving more. We should give more. Is my self-advice. I was pondering, I was thinking for these few days, you know that there is a need of giving more. Either we give to ourselves in the sense of certain good quality time of tidying up, or improving our learning by reading books. You know, they have actually a concept of like 5 a.m. club nowadays. Why? Because a quality a bit of 1 or 2 hours early time for ourselves. That is to give to ourselves. But what do you give to others? You need to think. Sometimes it's a challenge for you to spend more time with your parents, spend more time with your wife, spend more time with your children, because you need to know that we do not know that how long we live in this world.
That's true.
You know, so there is a need of giving more. And then recently I was attended one of the what they call seminar. One of the element of they call it 5S. 5S. I will elaborate to you more, or maybe surprise for our listeners. One is sedekah. Because sedekah you give more, give out, then the nature or the Lord, the God, Allah will actually give you back at the same equivalent value or more. There is a good belief. Even in Western, in mainstream method of financial planning, 6JAR, you know, 6JAR, THK, Millionaire Mind Incentive, there is one box, one bucket they call it, called JAR for giving. If I'm not mistaken, is 5% from your monthly income. So it's a concept of giving, sedekah. So we need to learn to, in our society that is lacking, as I mentioned in our earlier session just now, there is a lacking of sacrifice. People not big heart enough to sacrifice. It's okay for me to lose this certain amount of either money, time, or energy to add value to some people, to some group. Maybe I will get actually the profitability maybe in the other shape, or maybe in maybe another 1 year or 2 years. There is no giving up. Or why not that we have the concept of activism, the concept of give me out, then let go and let God, which means that okay, I spend this time, this amount of money, this amount of time, this amount of energy. It's okay even if I don't get back. But let God
decide.
Let go. I let go and let God. Let God decide. And God wanted to actually repay whatever good deeds I do, because the best person that rewards you is Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala.
That's great. That's something that you listeners needs to ponder and think about. You know, the concept of teething, or you sacrifice just 5% of your wealth and it's going to be an investment, a personal investment.
Personal investment.
And I think to wrap this up with the final question, what should I have asked you that I didn't? That I don't have the knowledge or the correct lingo in your industry that could actually potentially benefit our audience. Just to wrap up the final question.
But maybe there is a sharing of the idea. What is the vision that we can share to the world?
What is the vision?
What is the vision of the world? Because I love to share the vision of educated family and multi-millionaire.
Okay.
This one coin or the idea is come from the philosopher, the outreach professor, Dr. My father. For the family, for the big family of Yayasan Kuala Priok and also World Philosophical Forum family, where there is two type of poverty in this world. One is poverty of monetary, either you're talking about fiat money or even cryptocurrency, any type is one. Another thing is the poverty of knowledge, poverty of wisdom. Knowledge is one stage, wisdom is another stage, where wisdom is the leading ingredient towards finding the truth, knowing the truth. What is the correct map of the world? So that is will change whatever the idea that we have to the world. If we have better knowledge and wisdom, so educated family and multi-millionaire is a vision by Dr. Hello Ann. I think is really suitable and visionary towards all community in the world, because if you can strive, as I mentioned to you earlier, how can we resolve of becoming self-destructive? You need to be always on the run, on the race, on the race. When you become on the race, you never think about jumping off a bridge or killing yourself, because you're always on the race. And you're always trying to find prosperity. That's what Islam is. Prosperity, everything is about prosperity. Profitability may link only to monetary, but prosperity to overall health, family, add value to your children, to your wife, to your family. When you are on the race, always on the race, berkejar-kejaran, you will be able to have a good progress. So educated family and multi-millionaire is the aim, the track, for you to keep on running. So becoming actually an educated person, maybe in terms of what you call certification is yes, but in terms of lifelong learning, like what University of Life is doing, certifications of education is one stage, but learning about life, fulfillment of our inside self, the soul, the mind, is long term. Even in any martial art, for example in karate, for example, they mention is never ending perfection, never ending probation. So this is the type of things that need to have in this world, that we all need in this world, is the purpose. When you put a purpose of life to make your family as educated as possible, to give your family the best education that's possible, and also to give your family a wealthy, high quality lifestyle through your wealth, that will be actually a prosperous movement throughout the world.
That's great.
So that's what I want to share.
So that's the vision from Hafizul Ahmad. And of course, with that, I just want to thank Hafizul Ahmad for taking the time.
Welcome,
and of course for actually making the effort to make this happen. And of course, in the future, we look forward to more partnership. But let's say if one of our listeners or audience wants to reach out to you to ask questions, is there a Twitter, email, or how can they get in contact with you?
Yes, of course. I welcome any contact, any suggestions, any requirement of joining our World Physical Forum event, and any discourse. You may contact me through Facebook. You can find me at Hafizul Ahmad.
Hafizul.
Hafizul Ahmad.
Okay.
Ahmad. Then from there you can direct message me, DM me.
Okay.
On the matter that we may arrange. Either can be a coffee session with me. I am open for that. Because as I mentioned, the most superpower that I wanted is to have more friends.
More friends.
More friends. And
That's
many
great.
many friends as possible. You know, directly. Then another thing is interactions of positive interactions, especially knowledge section or majlis ilmu, we may say that is really important on my view of life on that.
That's great. So
Yeah.
thank you, Hafizul, and we'll see each other again.